Brett McGurk, the American, had been in the northern Iraqi city of Erbil less than a month before Baghdadi's triumphant speech. The capital of northern Iraq's semi-autonomous Kurdish enclave, the city is less than 50 miles from Mosul, and the Kurds were seeing worrying signs of a major new ISIS offensive in the making. The Kurdistan Regional Government maintained an extensive intelligence network with outposts in towns and villages across Iraqi Kurdistan, from the Syrian and Turkish borders north and west to Halabja, the city devastated by Saddam Hussein's 1988 chemical weapons attack, to the east. From these sources, the Kurds picked up the first signals of new columns of ISIS fighters advancing from Syria into Iraq in early June. Soon, a larger ISIS force was rolling through villages in the north and massing on the outskirts of Mosul itself. McGurk, alarmed, immediately phoned Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki to see how his government was responding. The Kurdish authorities were worried about Mosul and even offered to send their vaunted Peshmerga fighters to reinforce the city's defenses east of the Euphrates River. Yet Maliki so far had declined. "You have to let the Peshmerga into East Mosul," McGurk said to the Prime Minister, insisting that he accept the help from the Kurds. "No need," Maliki replied. He explained that he had arranged for 3 additional Iraqi brigades to travel to Mosul to support the trained and capable army divisions already defending the city. "The new troops should be in place within a week," he said. The reinforcements never made it. On June 8, more than 100 ISIS vehicles packed with jihadists roared into Mosul, setting off bombs and attacking police stations and army positions with help from sleeper cells inside the city. The Iraqi government sent an urgent request to the Kurds, but it was too late. By June 10, central Mosul had fallen, along with the city's airport. 2 Iraqi army divisions and equal numbers of federal police, as many as 60,000 in all, had melted away ahead of an advancing force of a few thousand jihadists. McGurk spent the night writing urgent cables to President Barack Obama's national security advisors back in Washington, describing the threat in the direst terms. Having failed to win congressional or public support for an airstrike on Damascus a year earlier, the White House had been leery of talk of committing U.S. forces to Iraq or Syria, but McGurk was insistent. "If we don't do something to combat it, Baghdad could fall," he warned. Across central Iraq, he said, there was panic and a snowballing effect southward toward the Tigris Valley. McGurk jumped on a plane in Erbil and flew to the Iraqi capital, stopping along the way at a former U.S. air base to pick up American contractors left stranded in ISIS's path. He arrived in the capital to find the city awash in rumors and paralyzed by fear. A jihadist horde was sweeping southward, pausing only to slaughter the Iraqi soldiers and bureaucrats they managed to capture. The attackers were said to be closing in on the Baghdad airport, which was widely expected to fall. For the first time, McGurk and the hundreds of other American officials and workers in the city perceived their own lives to be in danger. If the airport fell, their main escape from the city would be blocked. The ISIS invaders eventually paused to regroup, and McGurk took advantage of the lull to board a plane to Washington. He landed hours later in a US capital, still struggling to comprehend an Iraqi meltdown that almost no one had believed was possible. Within the White House, Obama's advisers were divided about what to do. Some pressed for immediate military action, including airstrikes to turn back ISIS's advancing columns. Others were convinced they were witnessing a Sunni uprising against the imperious Maliki, whose corruption and repressive policies had brought disaster upon himself and his country. In any case, it was feared a US military campaign that appeared intended to prop up Maliki might have little popular support with Iraqi Sunnis and Kurds. Iraq's survival, the advisers concluded, depended on a leadership change. Quietly, McGurk and other US officials encouraged parliamentary leaders to replace the strongman with a more unifying figure who could rally the country for a life or death struggle against the Islamists. Are, aren't they all Islamists? Aren't they all Muslims? Gradually, the effort worked. Maliki resigned in mid August, and within days, the outlines of a counter-offensive began to take shape. Still, despite the political breakthrough in Iraq, some US analysts in Washington began describing the ISIS takeover of parts of Iraq and Syria as a fait accompli and possibly permanent. We're going to have to find a way to negotiate with these guys, one Middle East expert told an astonished McGurk in the diplomat's Foggy Bottom office. No way, McGurk shot back. The world had not yet witnessed the atrocities for which ISIS would soon become infamous. The grisly videos of beheaded journalists or of prisoners being crucified, pushed off rooftops, or set ablaze in cages. The terrorist rampages in Western capitals and the copycat attacks in nightclubs and beach resorts, all this was still to come.